Hello everybody, my name is John Dornoff, and I'm a speaker, consultant, and we're here to talk about inspiration. Those who inspire us. Now, sometimes when we think of people who inspire us, we think they should, we think of heroes or some artificial creation that is not real. Well, of course, they're not real, so they're not human, so they truly can inspire us because they're just somebody we look up to, but has not done something that really makes us want to say, wow, that inspires me to be something more. Let me give you 3 examples from my life, one from my personal life, one from my acquaintance, somebody outside my immediate that inspired me to become who I am today. As I said, these people are humans, so they're not going to be perfect. And the first one in my life I'm going to point out is my father. He inspired me in certain ways. Was he perfect? No, far from it. But he went through an incredible life. Stuff in his life that he's done that inspired me. To give you a little background, my father was born in 1920. Therefore, he was 9 years old when the Great Depression hit. He had to quit school after the 8th grade, which is going to be a big part of the story at the end. He quit school at the 8th grade to help his family have enough money to survive the Great Depression. After the war started, he went into the army, and he went to, like many Germans from the Michigan area, he went to New Guinea, or they were mostly sent to the Pacific Theater. He went to New Guinea and fought the Japanese in New Guinea. Of course, anybody who knows the history of that area, that conflict, knows how bloody it was. And in fact, out of his friends that went to war, I think he was one of the only, if not the only one, to actually come back from the war. Most of his friends were lost. But after the war, he met his first wife. They had 2 kids, adopted another. But he went to work for F.W. Woolworth stores. For those of you who don't know what F.W. Woolworth is, they were what they called a 5 and dime store, probably an early precursor to today's Walmart, except a lot smaller, mainly commercial front stores. But he worked so hard, he really impressed them. He impressed somebody, and they said, I have a position for you. And it turned into a lifelong career for him. One of the things he was never happy with me about was that he thought I should just find a good job and be happy for the rest of my life. And of course, that just wasn't possible in this day and age. And I think later on, near the end, he realized that, oh yeah, lifelong jobs are just not there anymore. Well, then him and his wife got divorced. He met my mother. Interesting is they were both from Michigan, grew up about 20 miles apart, both moved to California for jobs, and they met in Las Vegas. My dad was actually working in a store in Vegas at the time. My mother was on vacation. So interesting that they grew up 20 miles apart, and then ended up meeting each other in Las Vegas. But one of the things that he did to inspire me was, as I said, he never went beyond the 8th grade. And that's something that always bothered him in his life. Well, when he was 79, he got cancer. but it went into remission, and then at the prompting of my mother and he decided to actually get his high school diploma. And he did. 81 years old, my father got his high school diploma. He was so proud. We were proud of him. They actually accomplished that. He kept saying, "Oh, I can't do that. I'd never be able to handle it." But he did. He inspired me because it's like he was 81 and he got his high school diploma. In fact, he wanted to go to college. Unfortunately, just a couple years later, he lost his life to the cancer, came back, but it was inspirational. Another person that inspired me in my life was somebody I knew from acquaintance. He was in a Toastmasters club I belonged to. His name is Rich Hopkins. Now, shortly before I met Rich, he had to make a decision that was incredible. He had to make the decision to get his leg amputated. Can you imagine having to make that decision? And how many of us would not have been able to, would have, felt sorry for ourselves, not been able to handle that kind of situation? Well, he did. And he's gone on to become a public speaker. In fact, I will put his website in the in the description, so you can look at his website. He's become a speaker. He's raised a family. He has not let having to have his leg amputated set him back. He made it to the World Championship of Public Speaking. So, just an incredible person. Very, inspirational. And he's done other things that's like he did this challenge. He was going to read 52 books in a year. I took him up on, I said that was inspirational. I'm going to do the same thing, and actually I've done it every year since. And I think it's really important for me. Finally, the last person I'm going to talk about is somebody I met one time, but he was an inspiration to a lot of people. His name was Alan Kulwicki. Alan Kulwicki was a race car driver. In 1986, I believe it was, 1986, Alan Kulwicki decided, pretty much at the spur of the moment, to move to Charlotte, North Carolina and make it a goal in the Cup Series. Alan had had success in the lower ranks of a former racing series called the American Speed Association. Decided it was time to move. Now everybody told him, no, you can't do it. You don't have a sponsor. You don't have a race car team. It's not going to work. Well, he did it anyway. And with only a small sponsorship from Quincy Steakhouse, I don't even know if they even exist anymore, he ran for Rookie of the Year. He ran against a well-funded team whose driver was the brother of a three-time NASCAR champion, and he won the Rookie of the Year honors. He didn't even run the full season, but he still beat the bigger sponsored teams. A few years later, he was offered a driving job by Junior Johnson. Junior Johnson at the time was one of the top teams in NASCAR. Everybody said he would be a fool not to take it. It was, probably worth $1 million a year, which was good money back then. He said, no, I'm going to do it my way. The next couple years were challenging. He lost his major sponsor, had financial troubles, so they left. He went into the 1991 season with no sponsorship. At the third race of the year, he became the first driver in, 10-15 years to win a pole position, top qualifying position, with no sponsorship. The best thing was that was the last time he ever was without sponsorship. Hooters Restaurants came along, sponsored him. Started with one race, then it became multiple races, and finally multiple seasons. In 1992, he was one of 3 drivers that was challenging for the championship of the series. Now, he was the biggest underdog in the series. He wasn't given much of a chance. It looked like Davey Allison was going to win the championship, or Bill Elliott. He was third. In fact, he was such an underdog, and one of his symbols, his whole career was the Mighty Mouse symbol. So Ford let him take the T out of Thunderbird, because they were running Thunderbirds at the time, so it became Underbird, and he had a little Mighty Mouse symbol at it. Well, during the final race of the year, when all three of them had a chance for the championship, Davey Allison got involved in a crash, none of his doing. Then, so it became between him and Bill Elliott. And here's where Alan Kulwicki was smart. He realized that if he finished in second place, Bill Elliott was running first, he was running second, they would tie for points, and Bill Elliott would win the championship because of having won more races. So what he did was he knew if he got the most laps, they had a bonus points at that time for leading the most laps, he would win the championship. If he finished second, now he almost ran out of gas trying to lead the most laps near the end, but he did it, and then he won the championship. Ironically, Bill Elliott was driving the Junior Johnson Ford, and one of his theme songs became "I Did It My Way." So what an inspiration. Sadly, Alan Kulwicki was killed in a plane crash just about 4 months after winning that championship. But he was always an inspiration because he did what everybody said was impossible to do, and he achieved his ultimate dream. So what an inspiration. So I urge you to find those people who are going to inspire you. I hope I inspire people. I want to see other people achieve greatness. That's my whole goal of starting this YouTube channel, for everybody to achieve what they're looking for. Also, consider who you're inspiring. What are you doing to inspire others? Everybody inspires somebody in some way. So I hope you will inspire others. Think about how you're inspiring others. And I'll see you next time, the next video.